Why rent has become out of reach for many Americans. Ever thought why rent seems increasingly out of reach for many Americans? Come with us as we try to figure out why the cost of renting in the US is going up so fast. This video takes a close look at the forces that shape our rental market, from economic factors to the effects of policy. Is there a housing problem going on, or are there ways out on the horizon? Stay tuned to find out how the cost of rent affects all of us and what that means for the future. Throughout the course of the past several years, the affordability of rent in the United States has emerged as a critically important issue that impacts millions of individuals and families all throughout the country. The cost of renting a home or apartment has been continuously increasing across the country, from large cities to suburban areas. This trend has outpaced the growth of income, which has created substantial hurdles for long-term housing security and financial well-being. This video investigates the myriad of factors that contribute to the unaffordability of rent in the United States, analyzes the effects that this phenomenon has on a variety of demographics, and offers strategies that could be implemented to alleviate this significant problem. A look at the increasing cost of rent. In the United States, the rise in rent prices can be ascribed to a number of important variables, including the following. Supply and demand dynamics. The demand for rental homes has increased as a result of urbanization and population growth, particularly in favorable metropolitan areas that have robust employment markets and amenities. This is especially true in metropolitan areas that are attractive. As a consequence of the limited supply, which has been made even more difficult by zoning regulations and land use policies, the market has been unable to keep up with the growing demand, which has led to a rise in the number of bidding wars and an increase in the cost of renting. Trends in the real estate market. Property values and, as a result, rental costs have increased as a result of inflationary pressures, fluctuating interest rates, and speculative investments in real estate. The rates that tenants pay are frequently adjusted by landlords and property management businesses in order to optimize revenue and offset the costs of operations and property taxes. Economic disparities. The affordability gap has been expanded as a result of income inequality and wage stagnation, which has made it increasingly difficult for households with lower and middle incomes to afford rents at market rates. As a result of high rental expenses in comparison to income levels, many renters are forced to devote a disproportionate part of their wages to housing, which restricts their capacity to save money and invest in other necessities. Repercussions on the stability of housing. The difficulty in providing renters with affordable housing has significant repercussions for the stability of housing and the socioeconomic well-being of the population, as explained in the following sentence. People who live in households that spend more than 30% of their income on rent are referred to as rent-burdened households. The likelihood of these households experiencing heightened levels of financial stress and instability is much higher than the average household. It is possible for a significant number of individuals to experience housing instability, the threat of being evicted, and even homelessness as a direct consequence of unplanned expenditures or fluctuations in income almost immediately. Individuals and families are regularly compelled to live in housing conditions that are inadequate or overcrowded due to the high cost of rent, which puts their health, safety, and general quality of life at danger. This is a problem since it puts their quality of life at risk. Especially problematic for vulnerable populations such as elderly people, those with disabilities, and families dealing with children is the restricted availability of affordable housing options in secure areas. This makes these difficulties much more difficult to cope with than they would otherwise be. Economic mobility. Rising rental prices can impede economic mobility and upward social mobility by restricting access to neighborhoods that have superior schools, job prospects, and community resources. This can be a barrier to economic mobility. This not only contributes to the perpetuation of cycles of poverty and inequality, but it also impedes efforts to attain long-term financial security and success. Why rent is unaffordable. The root causes of the problem. The persistent problem of rent being unaffordable in the United States is caused by a number of underlying reasons, including the following. The quantity of rental units that are available at reasonable rates is limited due to inadequate housing policies, restrictive zoning regulations, and insufficient investment in affordable housing projects. The implementation of successful solutions to enhance housing affordability frequently presents local and state governments with a number of hurdles, including political and practical obstacles. Cost of construction and development. The cost of building new rental housing units is driven up by rising construction expenses, which include the cost of materials, labor, and compliance with regulatory requirements. There is a possibility that developers may give higher priority to high-end or luxury developments that generate higher profits, which will further restrict the supply of rental options that are affordable. Market speculation and investment. Speculative investment practices in the real estate market, motivated by the pursuit of short-term gains, can artificially inflate property values and rental prices. By diverting resources away from the building of sustainable housing, this speculation makes the affordability difficulties that renters face even more difficult to manage. Young adults who are entering the workforce, such as members of Generation Z and millennials, are confronted with high rental costs in comparison to entry-level income, which delays their goals of being financially independent and purchasing a property. Low-income households, individuals and families that are earning minimum wage or working in occupations that pay low wages, have a difficult time finding reasonable rental homes. As a result, they frequently rely on government subsidies or housing assistance programs to bridge the affordability gap. Seniors and fixed-income retirees. Older persons who are retired and have a fixed income or retirement pension may have difficulties managing monthly rent increases. This is especially true in regions where property prices are increasing and there are fewer affordable housing options that are tailored to their specific requirements. There are many ways to make housing more affordable. In order to effectively address the issue of rent that is unaffordable, it is necessary to take a comprehensive approach that involves stakeholders from all levels of government, entities from the corporate sector, and community organizations. Investment in affordable housing. Governments have the ability to provide financial incentives to developers who are committed to constructing rental units that are accessible to households with low and moderate incomes. These incentives can take the form of tax credits, grants, and subsidies specifically designed for developers. Rent control and tenant protections. Through the implementation of rent stabilization measures and tenant protections, renters can be protected against unjust evictions and excessive rent increases, which in turn promotes housing stability and community resilience. The promotion of mixed-income communities. The encouragement of mixed-income housing developments helps to cultivate socioeconomic diversity within neighborhoods, which in turn improves access to economic opportunities and critical services for all inhabitants. Enhanced financial literacy and housing counseling. Providing renters with the ability to make educated decisions on housing affordability, budgeting, and long-term financial planning by providing them with the skills necessary for financial literacy and providing them with access to housing counseling services. Fostering collaboration between policymakers, urban planners, housing advocates, and community stakeholders in order to develop holistic policies that address systemic barriers to housing affordability and promote equal access to safe, affordable rental housing is the fifth step in the collaborative policy solutions process. It is a multifaceted and multifaceted problem that has major effects for individuals, communities, and the economy as a whole. The problem of rent being unaffordable in the United States is a problem that has huge implications. As long as stakeholders have a comprehensive understanding of the underlying causes, implications, and potential solutions that are discussed in this video, they will be able to work toward the adoption of laws and programs that promote equal access to safe and affordable rental housing for all Americans. When we collaborate and make smart investments, we have the ability to build communities that are resilient to adversity. It will be possible for these communities to acknowledge that cheap housing is not a luxury but rather a fundamental right that every individual and family are entitled to. Don't miss out on understanding the critical issues shaping rent affordability in America. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell to stay informed on our latest videos uncovering housing challenges and solutions.